Hello everybody. Hello. So over the last few sessions we've talked about various DI representations, be it charts, be it bar graphs, be it tables, be it pie charts. The most common thing is all of them involve information in a certain pictorial form. But they can be actually, the objective of such an information is to compute the percentage change required. Which is why in today's session we'll be discussing on the percentage change, that is the increase or decrease percentage. So what is meant by increase percentage? As you can see on the board, increase percentage is basically the increase divided by the original value into 100%. Please remember, increase percentage is always computed on the original value, which means if the increase is from 90 to 100, the increase is 10, but the increase percentage is 10 by 90 and not 10 by 100. It's the original value. Also, in case the value was 100 in 2010 and it is 120 in 2012, then the increase percentage is 20% in the 2-year period. And the increase percentage is always assumed to be happening for the latter year. The increase percentage is happening for the latter year, but the base or the point of reference is the former year. The same thing happens for decrease percentage. As you can see, the decrease percentage, the formula is decrease by original value into 100%. Similarly, in case the value reduces from 120 to 100, then the decrease is 20 and the base will be 120 because the original value was 120. Now, let us look at a caselet which would help illustrate the point. So, here we have taken 6 logistic startups. There is LRDI, there is SUP-S, there is Pluto, there is MoreZ, there is Ntake and there is Polix. So, these are 6 logistics big startups, and what we are trying to do is see what are the sales figures been like for these 6 startups in the period 2011 to 2016. And all these measurements are in rupees crores. For example, for LRDI, 289 for 2011 means that LRDI's sales in 2011 was 289 crores. Similarly, for Pluto in 2014, the total sales was 818 crores. Okay. Now, in such a question, it's obvious that you need to compute a lot of increase or decrease percentage calculation needs to be performed. And as you can see, the first question itself says the highest percentage growth in sales exhibited by any of the startups, which means you need to check year on year and see which startup has got the highest percent increase in any particular year. Similarly, the second startup talks about YOY CAGR. If you remember the formula for CAGR, we had obtained, that is the final value divided by the original value raised to the power of 1 by n. N is the number of years. CAGR is a compounded annual growth instead of SAGR, which is a simple annual growth. The third one is again to saying about opposite trends in sign, and the fourth one is talking about the total sales, what is the percentage growth, which means a lot of increase or decrease percentage computations need to be done in most of these questions. So, some key pointers. It's obvious that if you start taking one by one, doing all the, yes?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So is there any way to solve such kind of questions? Like any easy way?
See, okay, fine. This is what I was anyways going to come at. So good you raised this point. So one simple way is just compute individual percentage changes for every year for every startup. But doing that would involve a lot of calculations. For example, you need to do for LRDI, you need to perform 5 different calculations for a 6 years in question. You compute 5 increase percentage, and again for the other 5 brands, you do the same, which would involve a total of 30 odd calculations. To optimize on that, the best way would be look at a question, go for a question based approach and find out where only are the relevant percentages need to be computed. For example, in some values you might be just able to look at the values and say that this will not be a adequate increase or adequate decrease. So you do not need to unnecessarily compute the percentage change in that case. So to illustrate this point on how to minimize the number of calculations required, let us look at question 1. Here it says highest percentage growth in sales exhibited by any of the startups in any of the given consecutive years. So here we have 5 consecutive year periods, I mean 6 years, so there are 5 consecutive year periods that we can consider, and there are 6 startups. So instead of doing 30 calculations, let us only focus on those which might be relevant. Looking at the options, it says one is less than 25%, then the next is 25 to 30%, the next is 30 to 35%, and the last option is more than 35%. Which means we only need to look at percentages which could be greater than 30%. We're looking at trying to compute percentage less than 10% or less than 20% is not required, because that will automatically mean option A being correct. Only thing is we need to look at that a point where there might be a confusion between one option and another. So, looking at LRDI, where do we see a considerable increase? That is in 2011, 2012. But as you can see, the increase is within 10%, because the increase is only of 23, whereas the base was 289. Hence, LRDI definitely did not have an increase of more than 25%. Moving on to SUP-yes. SUP-yes exhibited a huge increase from 2011 to 2012. How much is that increase? If you're using your calculators, you'll be seeing it comes out to be 28.9%, which falls in the range of 25 to 30%. By now, you already know that option A is not the answer, because option A was less than 25%. Looking at the next row, again you can see there are 2 huge values of changes. One is in 2011, 2012, and the other is 14 to 15. But obviously, the 11 to 12 value change for Pluto is higher than 14 to 15. So let us look at the 11 to 12 value. It's increased from 816 to 1023. How much is that increase? It comes out to be 25.4%, which is again in the 25 to 30% range. Moving on to the next one, more Z. In more Z, we can see that there is one major increase from 502 to 681. That was in 2013 to 2014. What is that increase? 681 divided by 502 gives you a 35.7% increase. Now, do we need to go any further analyzing the table? No, because you already know that you've got one instance where it is more than 35%, and that is the largest possible option you have. The other options are less than 25, 25 to 30, and 30 to 35, which means the correct answer has to be option D. Note, it might be that there are other brands like Entech or Spolix which has a higher percentage increase than more Z. So it can be that one of them has 37 or 38 or 40 or 42. However, the answer to this question will definitely be option D, because you already have identified one brand where there was an increase of more than 35%. So as you can see, you don't need to optimize on the number of calculations required. Hope that answers your point. Okay? Fine. Moving on to question 2. How many of the startups had a YOY CAGR sales growth of greater than 2.6%? Here we are not talking of the 5-year period of 2.6%. Yes, the entire period needs to be considered, but we are talking about the YOY growth. What does YOY growth means? That means the year-on-year growth. So a 2.6% year-on-year growth would mean across a 5-year period, it is a growth of 1.026 to the power of 5. So how much is 1.026 to the power of 5? It comes out to be 1.1369, which means effectively there needs to be an increase of 13.69%. So is it clear? We need to ultimately look for an increase of 13.69% over the 5-year period. Yes?
Sir, why are we taking 13.69%?
Okay. See, here they are saying that the year-on-year growth is 2.6%, right? But we need to compute for the entire 5-year period, 2011 to 2016, which means every year if it increases by 2.6%, that means the first year what it was x, the next year it is x into 1.026. The following year it will be x into 1.026 into again 1.026, which is 1.026 square. At the end of 5 years, the effective growth will be x into 1.026 to the power of 5. Now, what is 1.026 to the power of 5? That is 1.1369, which means 13.69% more. That is why for the 5-year period, now what I will do is I will just look at the starting value for each brand in 2011 and the closing value for each brand in 2016 and check where we can see a 13.69% increase. So, looking at LRDI, we can obviously understand that the increase is less than 10%. So, we do not need to bother. For sub-PS, the increase is almost 30%. So, again we want to calculate, obviously sub-PS will be greater than 13.69%. Pluto, we can understand the answer will be between 12 to 14%, which is why Pluto, make sure you check it once. What is the increase from 925 to 8 divided by 816? From 816 to 925 involves the increase of 13.36%, which is not more than 13.69. Hence, Pluto will not be considered. For more Z, there is an increase from 523 to 608, which is anyways more than 15%. So, this will be considered more Z. What about NTech? NTech has an increase from 318 to 475, which is an increase of more than 50%. So, obviously, this would also be more than 13.69%. Spolix on the other hand, it's obvious, you can see it has decreased from 925 to 874. Since it's a decrease, we do not need to even bother about the increased percentage of 13.69. So, what are the brands which are an increase of 13.69 across the given period? SAPS, MoreZ and NTech. These 3 brands had an increase, hence the answer will be option B, which is 3. Please note, it is not required to blindly calculate the actual percentage increases. All you need to do is understand whether the percentage increases is going to be greater than 13.69 or not, which is only required for maybe Pluto, which was around 13.36, which was a very borderline case scenario. For the rest, it was pretty evident. So, it's clear how you can save time, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Good. Next, we come to question 3. In how many years did LRDI and Pluto show opposite trends in sales? Now, what does opposite trends in sales mean? That when one sales is increasing, the other sales is decreasing. So, looking at LRDI and Pluto. LRDI increased from 2011 to 2012, Pluto also increased from 11 to 12. That was the same trend. 12 to 13, LRDI increased, Pluto decreased. This was 1 year when LRDI increased, Pluto decreased. Next, 13 to 14, LRDI decreased, Pluto decreased as well. 14 to 15, LRDI increased, Pluto increased. 15 to 16, LRDI decreased, Pluto decreased. Hence, we find there is only 1 year period, that is from 2012 to 2013, when LRDI increased and Pluto decreased. That was the only year when these 2 brands showed opposite trends. Hence, the answer is option A, which is 1 year. Moving on to question 4. The total sales of all 6 companies combined exhibit the highest growth percentage in which year? Now, one way of approaching this might be adding up for all the years. Since I have the sales figures for each year, for each brand, to get the total sales figures for all the brands for that year, I just need to add up. One common way is adding up for all the 6 years. Is it very required to calculate this for all the years since there are only 4 options?
No, sir.
Well, normally I would say it was not required, but in this question you require it because it says exhibit the highest percentage growth happens with respect to the previous year, which means if 2012 is an option, you need to compare 2012 with respect to 2011, even though it's not there in the options. Similarly, 2014 is not there in the options, but 14 is the base reference for 2015. So, effectively in this question specifically, you need to compute for all the years. However, if it had been a question specific to the given year only, then you could have just gone for that year. as we've discussed in a lot of previous DI sets. Looking at 2011, what is the total? 289 plus 619 plus 816 plus 523 plus 318 plus 925. It comes out to be 3490. In 2012, the total sales is 312 plus 798 plus 1023 plus 467 plus 378 plus 817, which comes out to be 3795. Similarly, for 2013, total sales figure comes out to be, on adding the 6 numbers, it comes out to be 3717. 2014, similarly, it comes out to be 3646. 2015, it comes out to be, on adding the 6 numbers, you get 3828. And for 2016, you get it to be 3989. Now that we've got a total sales figure, we need to compute which year had the highest percentage growth. But looking at the figures, you can see a major growth happened only in 2011 to 12, where there was an increase of almost 305, or more than 300, which is how much percent? 3795 divided by 3490, that is 8.74%. So in 2011 2012, there was an 8.74 percentage growth. In the other years, as you can see, there was a very small growth. The only maybe comparable year can be 3646 or 3828, but then there you can see the increase is also less compared to 11-12 period, as well as the base is higher. Hence, the highest percentage growth definitely happened from 11 to 12. Hence, the answer is, which year is exhibited the highest growth percentage will be 2012. So, as you all saw, in such kind of questions, it's not necessary that you need to blindly compute each and every percentage change or percentage increase. A lot of it can be done by simple observation. Only in those cases where you find it very close to an option or it is relevant for the answer perspective, that is where you can take a chance of performing the calculation. As we saw in question 1, 2 and 4, in all 3 there are percentage changes involved, but we did only limited number of calculations. The basic idea is, if you end up doing all the calculations, you will still end up with the right answer, but it will take a lot more time. And presently, if you look at the DILR section, there are 32 questions which you need to do in 1 hour, which is almost impossible to do unless you go very fast. So to maximize the number of attempts, speed is the key, which is why I thought this session on increase-decrease percentage is something which is very important. So this is that session where you know exactly those tricks and you know how to go about faster with such calculations. Hope these tricks and all you are being able to follow, right? Yes, sir. Good, great. So in the next topic, I'll be going back to a mixed representation of a caselet, which I mentioned in the previous topic as well. And so see you all there, and that will be the last topic on the basic DI segment before we move on to advanced DI and basic LR and advanced LR concepts. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir.